So lovely to see everybody's smiling faces. It is an assembly, and we're here for a very special time together here today. But I'm going to start very quickly with a couple of animal facts, because when I made the announcement this morning, second grade were very upset that it didn't follow any animal facts. So I have a few quick cow facts. Here we go. Cows can't see the colour red. My favourite one today is that, did you know that cows have accents? So like Miss Roberts has a different accent, cows have different accents. And every cow always has a best friend. So I thought that was a lovely way to think about cows. Cows are very interesting. Okay, right. So I am very excited to share some facts about a new friend to JTD. We have a very special visitor today called Eva Chen, who is going to speak to us and share some of her wonderful books today. Eva Chen is a very talented writer. She has written 9 books, including some of the ones behind us here that I'm sure you've seen in your classrooms. The Juno Valentine series, A is for Awesome, Oh No, The Talent Show, and Roxy, The Last Unisaurus Rex. Children love her books so much, she has sold over 500,000 books. And I worked out that's like having 50 JTD libraries. That's how many books, which I thought was pretty impressive. Eva is a mom to 3 children who are in New York right now, and she's very proud that her parents came from another country. And she might talk a little bit about that today in her cultural background. So I want you to give a huge JTD jazz hand shine wave to Eva and welcome her to the stage, all the way to the stage.
So many microphones. Which one should I use? Good morning, everyone. Hi. I am so excited to be here, and I have to tell you something. I'm a little nervous. It's only February 2nd, and this is only my 3rd book reading of the year, and so I feel a little rusty, but I feel so happy to be here with all of you guys, and I'm very excited to be reading a few of my books to you. And we're going to talk about the books, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to answer any questions you have. So I know that we have a wide age range of kids. We have kindergartners in the front, and I wish I had kind of come in my pajamas like you guys. I'd be wearing a Taylor Swift t-shirt. Oh, I should have come in my Taylor Swift shirt. Oh, okay. And basically, we're going to answer some questions when I'm done reading. And so I know we have kindergartners all the way up to 6th graders. And so it's a very wide age range. So I could answer questions about serious things like how did I become an author, my job, my career, or I can answer questions about silly things. You can ask me about my favorite snack, if I like Cheez-Its or Goldfish better. I have strong opinions on everything. But we're going to start out by reading my book. So I became an author about 6 years ago, and I started writing books like the ones you see behind you, if we can go back one. And my first book was Juno Valentine and the Magical Shoes, which is the purple one there. It's a fashion fairy tale. I see some of you guys going like this because you've read the book. Thank you. It's kind of like a fashion fairy tale, and my most recent book is I Am Golden. Well, actually, that's my second most recent book. The most recent one is We Are Golden. And this book is actually the book that took the most out of me to write. You know, when you're about to write something for school, whether it's a school paper or a school assignment, your teacher might say, write a story. This story is my most personal story because it's really my story about my parents who moved here from Taiwan and China and raising a family in a place that they didn't speak the language or didn't understand the culture. So we're going to read this book, and then we're going to talk about We Are Golden, and then I'm going to answer all of your questions. So let's get started. Okay, I am golden. Okay. We named you May. Not May like the month, May, which means beautiful, like the country we live in now, 美国, America. What do you see when you look in the mirror, May? Do you see beauty? We see eyes that point toward the sun, that give us the warmth and joy of 1,000 rays when you smile. We see hair as inky black and smooth as a peaceful night sky. We see skin brushed with gold. We see the hopes and dreams of your ancestors when we look at you. We journeyed into the unknown to give you a new path to trailblaze. In this upside-down world, clever child, you have become our teacher and our translator. Our words won't always be enough to comfort you, and we won't be able to be with you every step of the way. We know you feel alone sometimes. People tell you that you're different and that you can't be one of them. But we promise there's power in being different. Are you ready, brave May, to hear about your secret power? You are never alone. You carry a golden flame inside you, and it's always with you. You are made of dragons, of phoenixes, of jade rabbits, and of monkey kings. You are the lotus flower unfurling, triumphant and bright in the darkest water. You are the first bamboo stalk piercing the soil that will overtake the sky. Your voice is the call of the magpie, joyful and unapologetic. It's a strange world we live in. People will call you different with one breath and then say we all look the same with the next angry breath. But they don't know that each of our golden flames flickers distinctly, that our stories are infinitely unique. We are artists, scientists, athletes. We are dancers, teachers, inventors. We are architects, actors, writers. You can hear all our stories when we gather as a family. There will be celebrations, oh, we love to celebrate, with plate upon plate of delectable deliciousness that will tickle all your senses. The hot pop and sizzle of garlic in a wok, the lazy curls of steam from freshly kneaded bao, the sesame balls that will leave your fingers slick and sweet. We gather to hope, to dream, and to sing your praises, May, to send love to your popo and gong who are not in Meiguo with us, to pay tribute to those we've loved and lost along the way as oceans and worlds and cultures separated us. Have we taught you the word Ming yet? It means destiny, May. Our destiny was you. Our Ming is to be the keepers of your flame, to guide you as best we can. We see you. We see your golden heart. You are beauty, but so much more. You are strength. You are power. You, May, are golden. Say it with us. Believe it. I am golden. So that was my first book. And you can see on this page, actually, behind me, this was a note I wrote about the book. And a lot of the pictures that the illustrator, Sophie Diao, drew were actually inspired by childhood photos and pictures from my family. So my dad went through all his photos and my mom went through all their photos. And you can see that's me there in the middle, and my grandmother and grandfather with my mom in that photo there, and then my dad with his family on the upper, I think, left of your side. And so this book is what we call autobiographical in some ways. Autobiographical, I know the sixth graders know what that means, but for the younger classes, it basically means it's based on your own story. And so this book was really important for me when I was writing it. And the next book that I wrote is actually called We Are Golden, and I think you'll see it on the next slide, maybe. Yes, and so this book is what's called a companion book. It's kind of like a buddy book. You know how cows have best friends, which I learned. Thank you very much. This book's best friend is actually We Are Golden. And so I'm here with Teach AAPI, which is a really important organization that teaches about Asian culture and history. And when I was growing up, there were not a lot of books with people that looked like me. There were not a lot of books, I think, about a lot of different types of people, but luckily now they make a lot of different books that reflect the diversity and the beauty of the world and the country we live in. And so this book is almost like an encyclopedia. It's like a guide to famous Asian people throughout time and history. So if we scroll through, we'll be able to see some of them. So on the first slide, you'll just see an introduction to the book, and then we have a few characters here on the next page. So this is a few artists, and I see some people raising their hand and going like this. Oh, because they recognize some of the people. Amazing. Look at these little cultural attaches. So you'll see Takashi Murakami, who has had a few exhibits here in Los Angeles. You'll see I.M. Pei, who designed the pyramids at a very famous French museum called the Louvre. So when he designed it, he took these buildings that were all around it that were from the 1700s, and then he put this beautiful glass pyramid. And at the time, especially in France, people were horrified. They were like, oh, our beautiful old buildings, you created this thing that looks so different. But now people understand that the difference is what makes it modern and cool. A lot of you may have been to Washington, D.C., or some of you have been to Washington, D.C., and seen this incredibly powerful Vietnam Veterans Memorial. And lastly, I think the people are most excited about Yayoi Kusama, who is a Japanese artist who creates amazing sculptures and artists. Okay, so the next page you'll see athletes. Some of you guys might, okay, I heard some people go, oh, yes, sports, yes, sports. This page was the hardest for me to do homework on, the hardest for me to do research on, because I don't know anything about sports. So I really had to do my homework for this. So you have Chloe Kim. I think some of you may have tried snowboarding before. Raise your hand quietly if you've tried snowboarding before. Okay. Did you guys fall a lot? Keep your hands raised if you fell a lot when you started learning. I did snowboarding once. I spent most of the class on my booty because I kept falling and I was covered in snow. But this lady here, her name is Chloe Kim, and she won the Olympic gold medal for snowboarding at just 17 years old. So for the sixth graders up there, that's just a few years older than you. She earned a gold medal representing the US. You have Naomi Osaka, who's an amazing Japanese-born tennis player, and then Michelle Kwan, who is one of the best ice skaters of all time. On the next spread, we have writers. So this was the page that was like the most powerful for me, because for me, like I said earlier, when I was growing up, I didn't really have a lot of authors growing up in the US to read that were also Asian. And so you have Amy Tan there, who wrote a book called The Joy Luck Club, which was probably the most formative book for me when I was a teenager, because it was the first time that I saw my culture reflected back on pages. On the next page, you have actors and actresses. So you might recognize some of these people. Simu Liu was the first ever Marvel superhero who was Asian. He was in a movie called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I know, very exciting. See, he was a trailblazer because he was really the first of his kind. And I know that in this room, in this audience, I see so many future trailblazers here because he has always spoken proudly about his identity, and I know that you guys will do that too about your own identities. You have Sandra Oh, Bruce Lee, who was one of the most amazing martial artists of all time, and Anna May Wong, who was the first Chinese superstar. Okay, next page. And then we'll get to questions because I can see some hands have gone up. These are politicians. These are very important people because they're the ones, such as Teach AAPI, who are able to get laws passed to make sure that the world we live in the future, your world, is more inclusive and diverse. So these are really important names to remember and histories to learn about. And I want to make sure we have enough time for questions, so we'll go to the next spread. These are activists. Now, my favorite activist on this page is Mabel Pinghua Lee. So she's holding a sign that says Votes for Women. And you guys might think, why would she be holding a sign that says Votes for Women? Because women and girls were not always able to vote. Voting is incredibly important because it's what changes the world and changes the history and changes our country. And so at just 16 years old, this Chinese activist was on the front lines, making sure and fighting for the right for women to vote. And she was just 16 at the time, and this was in the 1800s, so it was a long time ago. The next page, we have fashion designers. So I see a lot of interesting fashions in this room, mostly pajamas in the front row, to be honest. But I've seen some glittery shoes, I've seen some light up sneakers, see a lot going on. So these 3 designers are just 3 of the amazing Asian designers I could find. And they're the ones who are changing and deciding what's gonna be cool next year. Is it polka dots? Is it stripes? Is it dresses? Is it baggy jeans? Yes, baggy jeans are back, grown-ups, brace yourselves. And then on the last page, we have science. Okay, I hear some excited voices about science. Science is very exciting. So my favorite scientist on this page, we have astronauts, we have physicists, but we have someone named Tetsuya Fujita. So I don't know if anyone in here loves tornadoes. My son, oh my gosh, so many hands raised. So you guys probably know all about the Fujita scale for tornadoes then. My 7-year-old is obsessed with tornadoes. He can tell you about all the biggest tornadoes that have hit America in the last 200 years probably. So Tetsuya Fujita, his nickname was Mr. Tornado because he studied and really was one of the most advanced people pioneering the science of tornadoes. So much so that even today, decades later, when we talk about tornadoes, we talk about the Fujita scale. You know you're important when they name something after you. And so that's a look at the We Are Golden book. I hope that it's kind of like a buddy book to I Am Golden, because this book was very much about like my story and my history. But this book, We Are Golden, is about all the other pioneers and really important names for people in this room to know. So thank you guys for being such amazing listeners at the school. I really appreciate it. And I think we're going to open it up for questions now.
And what is exciting is every classroom is going to get one of the new We Are Golden books this afternoon that will be signed by Eva as well. So we're very excited. So you can learn a lot more about these people later today. So let's see if we have any questions. Let's see. Oh, yeah. There we go. First question.
What? Okay.
No, just say it. Just walk that way. You look there we go.
What was your favorite way to celebrate your favorite culture?
That is a great question. The question is, what is my favorite way to celebrate my culture? So there's a big holiday coming up in about a week and a half, I think, or in about a week. It's Lunar New Year. Okay, I heard an excited gasp. So when I was your age, when I was a kid, Lunar New Year was my favorite. For a lot of Asian countries, whether it is Korea, whether it is China, whether it's Singapore, many cultures celebrate Lunar New Year. Growing up, it was almost like Christmas and Thanksgiving and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and New Year's all rolled into one. It's like a mega holiday. So every year for Lunar New Year, what we would do is we get together as a family, we eat so much food, nonstop food. And actually in this book, you might remember this page. This page was really inspired by the food that I ate growing up for Lunar New Year. So this one here is called macho, and it literally means sesame balls. And they're fried and delicious and so yummy. And so Lunar New Year was always my favorite holiday to celebrate. And I hope that my children enjoy it too. Great question.
As a child, who was your favorite Asian American hero and why?
Oh. As a child, who was my favorite Asian American hero and why? I'm going to be honest, there were not that many. Because when I was growing up, I grew up in a different time where there were not that many Asian people on TV, in the newspaper. I couldn't really see a lot of people that looked like me. I think the author that I covered in We Are Golden named Amy Tan was a hero of mine because she wrote books and her story. She really wrote about the Chinese culture and what it was like. And so that really spoke to me. I would also say my parents were very much heroic to me because they moved to the country with very little and they worked so hard and sacrificed a lot. And so in a personal way, they were heroes of mine too. That was a really great question. And I hope that this next generation, everyone in this room, has more Asian American heroes to look up to.
What's your favorite book that you made?
What is the favorite book that I've made? That is a very tough question because I love all my books for different reasons. So the first book that I wrote, Juno Valentine and the Magical Shoes, was the hardest one for me to write. Thank you for going like that. Because I had never written a book before and I didn't know what to expect. This book here is one of the books that I'm the proudest of because it was very personal and I was the most nervous when this book came out because I didn't know how people would feel about it because it was so different from all the other books I've written. And then the book, Roxy, The Last Unisaurus Rex, I love that book because it's the silliest book and you can read it in very funny voices because it's about a dinosaur unicorn mix. So I love all my books in different ways, but I guess this one is probably the one that I'm the proudest of.
When you were a child, did you know you wanted to become an author?
When I was a child, did I know I wanted to become an author? So growing up, I was very shy. I often felt very nervous. Like if you told me when I was your age, are you in second grade, third grade, fourth? Third grade. If you told me if I could go back in time and say, Eva, one day you're going to be sitting in a stage in front of 300 people talking about your books, I would be like, there's no way, because I was so shy. I often felt nervous about raising my hand in class. I loved to read, but I didn't always feel confident writing, because I think they're two very different things. And so for me, I didn't know. I always dreamed of doing something with books, but I just never really had the big enough dream that I could actually do it. So it's been a lifelong dream of mine to write children's books. So I didn't know I was going to be an author. But I will also say I've done so many jobs in my life. I've done everything from babysitting, available to babysit anyone, give me a call, just kidding. I have 3 kids, I can't handle that. I worked in fashion magazines. I've worked in something called public relations. I've worked in law. So I've done a lot of different things. So I think it's really important for people to know that when you decide on a job, it's okay to change your mind like 500 times because that's what people do. Great question.
Who is your favorite author growing up?
Who was my favorite author growing up? So my favorite book series growing up was by a woman named Anne Martin. And she wrote a series called Babysitter's Club. Has anyone heard of Babysitter's Club here? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, everyone from the 6th graders who are hard to impress to the kindergartners who have. So Babysitter's Club was my favorite book series of all time. I had every single one from Christie's Big Idea. I loved Claudia because she was like, kind of Asian like me and also kind of creative and cool. I loved the Babysitter's Club so much that I wrote a book called, when I was 8 years old, called the Camp Counselors Club, which was basically a fake Babysitter's Club, but not as good. But I can tell you something. The woman who was the editor, which means she was almost like a teacher to Anne Martin, the author of the Babysitter's Club, she's actually my editor for these books too. And so I know. So when I met her, she was asking me about my favorite books, and I said the Babysitter's Club really formed my experience. And afterwards, my friend was like, she was the editor. And I was like, oh. So yeah, that was my favorite book growing up. Great question.
When is your birthday?
When is my birthday? First of all, I love your pajamas. Very cute. My birthday is September 24. Is anyone here born on September 24th? You? Oh my God, you and I are birthday buddies. It's the best birthday ever. Virgo, Libra cusp, but it is a really good birthday. Great question.
What's your favorite part of your job?
What is my favorite part of my job? So I actually have like 3 jobs, and I'll tell you my favorite part about each job. My first job is children's book author. My favorite job is doing things like this and getting to meet students and hearing about what they're interested in and just doing these readings and answering questions. So I love doing that. My other job, I have a second job where I work at a company called Instagram, which some of you know you're too young or you shouldn't be on the platform. But some of your moms might be on it, or dads or grown-ups. I hope you guys are not on it because you are too young, okay? And so my favorite part of that job is hearing about how if you have a hobby or if you like something like sewing or knitting or reading, you can find a book club on it and you can meet new people. And then my third job is mom. I have 3 kids. I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 2-year-old. They keep me very busy. Guys, sometimes they get me sick. They gave me a stomach virus and I got pink eye from one of them last year too. No good. So that's the hardest part of the job, but it's also my best job out of all 3 jobs. Great question.
Why did he want to become an author?
Great question. Why did I want to become an author? So there's something that teachers and librarians and booksellers talk a lot about. And they say that children's books should either be windows or mirrors. So a window book is a book that is about an experience that's totally unlike yours. So it's almost like you're looking in a window trying to understand that experience. A mirror book is a book that you look at it and you say, oh, this person looks like me, or this person is from the same background as me. And so I wanted to write children's books and become an author because I wanted to write some books that reflected my experience. And so that's why I became an author. Great question.
Who was your favorite illustrator growing up?
Who was my favorite illustrator growing up? There is a poet named Shel Silverstein. Oh my gosh, love him. Where the Sidewalk Ends. Oh my gosh, big fans of Shel Silverstein in this room. So he was a big, big influence on me, and my kids are just starting to get into him. So he was my favorite illustrator and still remains. Another favorite illustrator of mine is called Quentin Blake, and he did all of the Roald Dahl books. So if you read the BFG, James and the Giant Peach, he was the illustrator of those, and those illustrations really stood out to me too, and I could remember every one of them.
What was your most influential point in your life?
This is a very deep question. Thank you for asking. Probably the most influential point in my life was having my first baby, Ren, who's 9 years old. I think once I had a baby and had my daughter, she just changed my whole life. And now having 3 kids probably is the biggest influence on my life. Great question.
What inspired you to be a writer?
What inspired me to be a writer? Well, I wanted to write books about my experience and other experiences, like Roxy, who is the character in Roxy, the Last Unisaurus Rex. She's half dinosaur, she's half T-Rex, and half unicorn. So when you read that book, you can read it, and you can say, oh, wow, it's about like a half dinosaur, half unicorn. But it's actually a story about coming from 2 different cultures and 2 different backgrounds and trying to find your place in the world. And so I love writing books about experiences that kids can enjoy and hopefully make them smile.
What are your kids' names and what do they like to play?
What are my kids' names and what do they like to play? So I have a 9-year-old named Ren who loves headbands, so she probably would ask you questions about your headbands. She likes to play, she mostly likes to draw. She loves art. And she loves to read. So that's her favorite thing is a bookstore. My 7-year-old, his name is Tao. He is in the 1st grade. He likes to play a small little game called Minecraft. He gets to play it. You guys tell me if this is enough. He gets to play it 15 minutes once a week. And he has to do, oh wait, there's more, guys. He has to do 26 chores for 15 minutes of Minecraft. Okay, moms, feel free to steal that. We have a chart, but he also loves to play Lego. He loves Magnetiles, and he loves the Titanic. He loves learning facts about the Titanic. And then my 2-year-old is 2.5, and he just has been learning how to play catch. He is currently potty training. I know, PU. And there was a big accident in our house yesterday where he was potty training and he missed the potty. And it was not pee-pee. So I know. Okay, next question.
How do you have the ideas to get your books?
How do I get...
How are your ideas? How do you get your ideas for your books?
Great question. The question is, how do I get my ideas for my books? Usually, I come up with an idea, I write it down, and then I do my homework. And so just because you finish school doesn't mean you finish homework. So basically what I do is I go to a bookstore and I have my idea and I say, hey, are there other books like this? And I read all the similar books and I think, okay, my book is still different. My ideas usually come to me very late at night, in the middle of the night, like when everyone is asleep. And so that's how I get my ideas. They just kind of pop into my brain like popcorn.
So we have 2 more questions. I know that there were so many questions, but you can keep them in your head, and maybe you might be able to answer those questions when you get to see the books this afternoon. So we have 2 more questions.
How old were you when you published your first book?
How old was I when I published my first book? I think I was 34, maybe? Is that young or old? I can't tell. Okay, so let me tell you something. At my last book reading, someone asked me what year I was born in. And I told them I was born in the 1900s. And I know, it caused a lot of shock and chaos. So I was 34.
How did you like start writing books? Like what caused you to?
How did I start writing books? That's a great question. So I started writing books because I had my daughter, and I really wanted to write a book my first book was called Juno Valentine and the Magical Shoes. And I wanted to write a book that combined things that I loved. I love fashion, and so I wanted to write a book about fashion, but I also believe in the power and strength of women and girls, and so I wanted to write a book about feminism. So I wanted to write a book that kind of combined all 3 into a fairy tale, and so that was my first book. I was super nervous when I wrote my first book because I basically was like, is anyone going to want to read it? Are people going to be interested in it? So it's been really, really, really gratifying and an honor, and I'm proud of the fact that I can sit in a room with 300 students and talk about my books. So thank you for allowing me to do that. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Say a big thank you to Eva. Thank you, JTD. And while we're here, we also have some friends. Kindergarten, take a deep breath. Grades 1 through 6, take a strawberry breath. Taste it and let it back out. So we're saying a huge thank you to Eva, but also we have friends from Teach AAPI. Can you wave to us, friends over there, who have helped us have all of this happen this morning? So we're going to say a big thank you. You will see Tyler and Celine's mum as well there, who has really helped Miss Roberts put this event on today. So thank you to Gloria as well. So the good news is we can read more books this afternoon. Miss Scott is going to have all of Eva's books ready in the library. There may well be some wait lists, I'm sure. And maybe ask some of your teachers if we have these books in our classroom libraries. I'm sure we do. But you can read lots of the wonderful stories that Eva has written. So let's say one more big thank you to Eva. Okay. Shh, shh.